Hi, I'm Stan Goldstein with Kates-Boylston Publications. As part of our KB On the Road Live series, I'm glad to be joined by Paul Lovelace, the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development for Funeral Directors Life. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, you're welcome, Stan. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Tell us a little bit of how your company adapted to selling throughout the pandemic. What were some of the approaches you took to help your clients keep their pre-need sales going strong?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, it was a challenging, tough adjustment for everybody. And we did our best to adapt and overcome. And there's a lot of things that we did, but most importantly, we helped with the things that were in our control. For example, our mindset, just staying positive throughout this and letting people have a good perspective in being in control of what they can do to help families. And so that was the first and foremost. Secondly, I mean, there's some things we did just with getting people adapting from face-to-face selling to virtual selling. And some people didn't have a Zoom account or they didn't have other abilities to meet families virtually. So we helped them do that. And then we created some online signature stand that helped families complete contracts via email. And so that was a real big hit for our team.
Okay. And what are some of the reasons that a funeral home should have an active pre-need program versus relying on a walk-in call-in business?
Yeah, well, first thing I think of is just missed opportunities. I mean, there's one of those things when you're active, you have a chance to be in the community and build new relationships. And unfortunately, when they're not active, those opportunities do not present themselves. So we have a report called an active, it's basically a sales by lead source report. And if you're a completely passive program, 100% of that is walk-in call-in. On the other hand, we have an active program. We have all kinds of lead sources that help funeral homes, from Facebook to direct mail, aftercare referrals, all of those things that help benefit the business. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's not always the best funeral home that wins, but the one that gets there first. And that's what we're helping people understand.
Right, right. And what makes for a successful active pre-need program that can stand the test of time and see growth year after year?
Well, what I would say, first of all, is just having a commitment. I mean, we're on a mission here to help sales be a positive thing for funeral homes. You know, funeral home owners a lot of times are focused on their property, their plant and their equipment, but equally as important a lot of times is their sales. And we want to elevate sales and the mindset. And what we understand is that from a guy that we follow, Anthony Anarino, he talks about selling is not what we do to people, it's what we do with people and for people. And so when we get that mindset, sales is a real asset to the business, and that's what I would focus on, and just having a long-term commitment. Ultimately, if we're not doing active sales, there is a cost to be paid in the value of your business when you go to sell it at some point in the future, a long time from now.
Right, right. And following up on that, what is the risk of not having an active pre-need program?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, ultimately, it does take a toll because at the end of the day, it's very competitive in the marketplace. I mean, obviously, you have bricks and mortar funeral homes that we're aware of, but there's other virtual competitors in the marketplace. And when we don't get an opportunity to open those relationships first, we don't know what might happen in the future, right? So, and ultimately, that will take a toll on the business. After all, the purpose of a business is to create and retain customers, even in the funeral business. And when I see all this competition, Stan, what I want to do is, to me, the best defense is a great offense. And so we want to be proactive and to help funeral homes understand they can have a positive influence on the value of their business long term.
Oh, yeah. And how can a funeral home who wants to get active with their pre-need program get started?
Yeah, well, first thing I always recommend, let's just evaluate what's currently working and what's not working. And then we'll make a decision on what makes the most sense for that business owner. Because here's the thing, every funeral home situation is different, every market is different, but we have to at least be replacing the pre-need files that convert every year. And if we're not at least doing that, our pre-need files are actually going backwards, and that can be problematic. So then we'll just set some realistic and attainable goals for funeral home, working in conjunction with their at-need staff, and that's when I see the most successful results. Because it's a very simple formula. It's just not easy sometimes.
Yeah. All right. And how many people get in contact with you or Funeral Directors Life?
Simple. We're all over the internet. You can go to funeraldirectorslife.com, or you can email me at paul.lovelace@funeraldirectorslife.com, and we'll get your Funeral Directors Life sales associate in touch with you and see how we can help.
Great. Paul, thank you very much for joining us
My
today.
pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Take
I
care.
really enjoyed it. Great idea.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.